So my wife made me watch Black Mirror, and here we are. So I'm doing a review on Black Mirror, season 7, episode 1, titled Common People. Now, oh man, me and Black Mirror have an interesting history. Essentially, my wife loves it, thinks it's the greatest thing ever. And I've watched a few episodes here and there. Every episode I've watched so far, to me, I just didn't like, and to be honest, didn't want to really go back to it. Now, there's some people here who might love Black Mirror, and feel free to let me know in the comments as to why you love Black Mirror. And also let me know if you actually go back to any of these episodes. Because one of the things I've noticed about the show as of late, at least from the episodes I've watched, right, is that there's a lot of novelty on the show, but I feel like some of that novelty kind of wears off after you've seen it maybe for an episode or so. So it kind of makes me wonder whether or not you guys actually enjoy this show. And first off, with that enjoyment, what is it about it you like? So I'm actually very curious. I like to study media. So let me know in the comments what you guys think of Black Mirror. And I'm going to get right ahead to my review here of season 7, episode 1, titled Common People. Now, of the Black Mirror episodes I've seen, which I've probably seen a handful of them at this point, Common People is probably one of the better episodes. It really is. And one of the reasons why is the execution throughout the episode is, I think, great. Essentially, what you have here is a couple that's living together. And as that couple lives together, one of the two in the couple, the wife, gets into an accident where her brain essentially isn't working properly. And the husband's approached by this salesperson working for a company called Rivermind. And in particular here, Rivermind is this experimental technology that essentially allows for people to get a neural implant that's connected to servers and allows people to function with that neural implant. So what ends up happening is the husband, his wife gets the implant, and then a bunch of crazy things ensue from getting that implant, which again, I think Black Mirror is like a horror genre in a way, because it's like the scary aspects of technology. So we get a lot of horrifying stuff happen here in the episode. And I won't spoil all of it, but essentially, yeah, tech companies bad is basically the moral of the story here in a sense, in a nutshell. And I did enjoy the episode. I think it was good to an extent. And I think a spoiler review of this episode is definitely worth it, where we kind of go scene by scene in depth as to what worked with this episode and what did not work. So if you guys are interested in that, leave a comment below saying, spoil it up. And I'll do a spoiler specific episode where I'll legit go over scene by scene, all different details. I'm that kind of guy. I like to do long reviews. So if you guys are interested, let me know. But essentially here, the reason why this episode works so well is the execution. And what I mean by that is you have your basic level execution, which is just your writing, your acting, your cinematography, your score, all the basic elements of filmmaking that allow one to execute are all there. And they're all there at a pretty good level. The lead in this episode, which is the husband of the couple, does a really great job. He's really endearing, and you do actually feel for him a lot. The other characters as well do a solid job in each of their roles, right? And then ultimately, what I like is that they do a lot of things that are important when telling a narrative. For example, and I think there's elements of the narrative that are strong here. So, for example, this isn't really a spoiler here, but there's something at the beginning of the episode that will show up, right? And it seems like this throwaway thing that doesn't make much sense. But then as you get into the episode later on, that throwaway thing that didn't seem like it, it mattered actually becomes a major plot point later on. It's sort of like the Chekhov's gun thing, which is this idea that if you're going to fire a gun in the second half of a movie or in the climax of a movie, you need to have that gun show up at the beginning of the movie. And it's just a basic writing thing that a lot of writers would or should know. And in here, they execute that fairly well with not a gun, but something else probably a little more threatening, or at least more disgusting, I'd say. And yeah, they do a good job with that in this episode. That's just one small example among many other different examples. I mean, even the editing and how they chose to edit things. There's so many things that they did really well in regards to the filmmaking for this episode. So don't get me wrong. Until it comes to execution, awesome. I'd say 8, 9 out of 10 when it comes to execution. Where I have an issue with this episode and where I have an issue with Black Mirror episodes in general is when it comes to their narratives. For whatever reason, it just feels like they're trying to just ruin the endings every single time. The ending in this one is incredibly frustrating in terms of what happens. Like, yeah, it's just a frustrating ending, at least for me. Some would say it's sad. I think yeah, there's an element of it that's sad. But my issue with it is when it comes to the narrative and what story the narrative is telling, and then in turn, how you choose to end that narrative, it doesn't sink in well. And in turn, it doesn't lend well to, I believe, repeat watchings because you don't necessarily want to get to that ending again. And it's interesting because I'm a guy who, again, I study media hard. And one of the things I've noticed is endings. I never thought they were as important as they were until I started watching Black Mirror episodes. And in particular, the next episode of Black Mirror that I had to watch, we'll get into that whenever I do that review. But in particular, Black Mirror has helped me to realize the importance of a good ending, a good thematic ending. And I think the problem we have with not just Black Mirror, but even modern media nowadays is there seems to be this obsession with subverting expectations to an extent to where they'll just purposely throw in a subversion when they can simply stick the landing. I'll give an example. It's like you're in the middle of a basketball game or a hockey game, whatever, and you're winning. You're about to win the game and you're on your way to finish the game. And this is one of those things where, again, the show's going back and forth on whether or not you like it, just like a basketball game might go back and forth. But then at the very end, right? Let's say you get a breakaway steal and you're about to go in for the layup and score. But then instead of doing a simple, layup to score, you try to do something crazy like bounce it off your head and dunk it, or, something crazy that you would see from a slam dunk contest. And then in turn, you fail entirely and miss the layup. And then when you miss the layup, it ruins the rest of the game and you can essentially lose the game because you missed the layup. And one of the things that happened, not as much in this episode, particularly in a few other episodes I watched from this series, is the layup at the end just does not work. They don't finish these narratives properly. And I think it has to do with the subverting expectations. Again, a very popular trope right now when it comes to writing. The problem with subverting expectations, though, is that if thematically it's not set up properly, what ends up happening is you get a ruined story. And yeah, you get the initial shock from watching it, but afterward, the narrative is almost dead. And there's almost no reason to rewatch the thing in itself. And I really get that sense here in that this episode, if executed a bit differently with a better ending, I feel like could actually be a solid episode worth rewatching a few times. But personally, after seeing where it goes and where it ends up, there just isn't any sort of value, or I should say there's value in watching it again. Again, it's like a cautionary tale in a way, but just due to the fact that there kind of isn't really any sort of villain in this tale, I guess the theme for Black Mirror is technology's the villain. But I don't know. Either way, the issue I have here is they're unable to properly close the ending in a way that I think makes sense. Like, I don't have an issue with tragic endings, but if you want to go tragic with an ending, use something that works a little bit better. I think that, yeah, ultimately the ending falls short for me. And because of that, as a Black Mirror episode, I mean, if it's we want to say Black Mirror episodes, I'd recommend it. I've only watched about 4 or 5 of them, maybe, but I would recommend the episode Common People from season 7 as something to watch. But just in general, with the sea of stuff that's out there to take in and watch and all that stuff, honestly, I wouldn't really recommend it. I just wouldn't, because I don't see myself or many others rewatching this in a year, 2 years, multiple times. Hey, but again, if I'm wrong, let me know if you're that guy who's watched this episode 3, 4 times and absolutely loves it. But something tells me that that's not the case. And I don't think it's a genre issue where horror maybe has less rewatchability. I completely disagree with that. But again, it might just be me. Either way, let me know what you guys think of this video. If you guys want me to go into a more spoiler filled review where I actually tell you the exact issues I had with this episode and some possible endings that I think could work out better, again, leave that comment below and let me know whether or not I should spoiler this up. And then if, for example, you're thinking, hey, Lex, what are you talking about? This is pure cinema, the best thing we've ever seen. What are you even saying? Then let me know in the comments as well. I'm curious to see, again, what you guys think of this episode. I'm here learning just as much as you guys are learning because we all know, or at least we're going to know at some point, that there's no such thing as entertainment. So let's get into this together. My channel usually is about, for those who haven't been here, exploring entertainment at a deeper level, getting into the insights and things and nuggets that you can sort of receive from that entertainment. I tend to cover more superhero related media because I think it's awesome, but feel free because I'm going to start this new series here called my wife made me watch things because she, again, is telling me to watch certain things and she says that I'll like them or they'll be good for me. So here we go. We're here with this episode of Black Mirror. I have another review for the next episode of Black Mirror season 7. And then it looks like I might have more on the way. So if you guys want to see me suffer, feel free to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. And we'll get at more of this My Wife Made Me Watch It series. Again, peace out, guys. Much love. And I'll see you guys in the next video.